Hello, very warm welcome to babycode free TOEFL sessions. I'm Tanu Virmani, a TOEFL and TESOL certified trainer and an IDP certified trainer too. I'm back with my live session number 19th. We are starting up with the writing module. We have already covered reading part, listening and speaking. Yesterday we did the task 1 of writing, that is integrated writing question. And today we are about to complete a writing for academic discussion. So the candidates who are watching this session for the very first time, please go back to all those 18 sessions of the TOEFL and be with us on a track. So what is writing for an academic discussion? What type of question is this? What you are supposed to do here? I'm going to help you out with all those things, right? So writing for an academic discussion, you will be, or I will be helping you out in discussing about all the following things. First is how the question is structured, how to approach the question, how your response is scored, a sample response that received a high score, and some tips for improving your writing skills. So we will be discussing about question structure, right? Then second, approach tips. Third is scoring criteria. Fourth is sample response. And the fifth one is skill building tips, right? So we will be looking at all those 5 things. Now let's look at the question structure. Your screen will look like this, right? Your instructions, and then the professor talk about it, and this is the some of the classmates. So you can see your screen and you are supposed to type here in this blank area. Now what this task suppose you to do, what you're supposed to do here is that you are presented with an online academic discussion. Professor has posted a question about the topic. Now this is a discussion, right? And he has posted a question about that topic. Some classmates have responded with their ideas. There are 2 classmates who have already responded with their ideas, right? Now you have 10 minutes to type your own post that contributes to that discussion. There is no maximum length for your response, but yes, you should write at least 100 words for a good response, right? Now see here, this is an online academic discussion. Professor has already posted a question here, right? Classmates has already posted their post, their viewpoints, and now comes your time that you have 10 minutes to post your response. This is your academic writing discussion question. Okay. So what is this task asking you to do? How to write that post? In that post, the instructions are that your professor is teaching a class on economics. Write a post responding to the professor's question. In your response, you should express and support your personal opinion. Make a contribution to the discussion. An effective response will contain at least 100 words, right? So your professor is teaching a class on economics. Write a post responding to the professor question. In your response, you should express and support your personal opinion. Correct? So 2 things you have to keep in mind, that you will be writing an opinion in response to the professor's question. Your opinion should contribute to the discussion. It should be clear and cohesive, and it should be developed and well supported by reasons or examples, right? Now, some of the tips to approach the question. What are the approach tips, right? Now, approach tips are Now, approach tips. Now, some of the approach tips are the best way to approach this response is that to read the discussion carefully, right? And then come up with one or two ideas you would like to contribute to the discussion. So, first is read the discussion carefully. Then you have to come up with one or two ideas which you would like to contribute to the discussion, right? Now, here you can read the professor discussion. When people are asked about the most important discoveries or inventions made in the last 200 years, they usually mention something very obvious, like the computer or cell phone. But there are thousands of other discoveries or inventions that have had a huge impact on how we live today. What scientific discovery or technological invention from the last 200 years, other than computers or cell phone, would you choose as being important? Why? So now here, professor posted about some of the inventions, some of the discoveries other than computers and cell phone. What kind of discovery, what kind of inventions you would like to talk about and why? This is your question. This is the topic which professor has already posted about. Now, in this discussion, professor is asking the class to think about important discoveries or inventions other than computer or cell phone. Now, there are two students in the class who has already posted. One is Paul. Now, Paul, he posts about satellites and the various benefits they bring. So, what Paul says, I mean, we are so used to science and technology that we are not even aware of all the things we use in our daily lives. I would probably choose space satellites. This technology happened in the last 100 years and it has become important for so many things. Just think about navigation or telecommunication or even the military. What about another student, Lena? She talked about advances in medical science, particularly she talked about the discovery of vitamins. So what Lena says, I'm thinking about the medical progress. Like for example, when scientists discovered things about healthy nutrition, I'm thinking of identifying all the vitamins we need to stay healthy. I'm not sure exactly when the vitamins discovery happened, but I know they are very important. Our health is much better than it was 200 years ago, right? So he talked about science and technology, that means space satellite. Lena talked about the discovery of vitamins, that means medical science. Now comes your task. Now you have to make your contribution. You have to provide your own contribution talking about any discovery, any inventions, right? So for this, you will be provided with 10 minutes. Now you can take some of the inspirations from one of the other posts, or you can write about advances in space technology, medical science, or something different, right? Start thinking about your own idea. You can also talk about invention of shipping containers that made transporting goods around the world a lot cheaper, or anything that comes to mind like television, DNA, plastics, right? So any discoveries, any inventions you can write here. Okay, but how to write? How you have to frame those 100 words? You have to start by introducing the invention. What invention you're going to write about? Introduce your invention in 2 or 3 statements. Explain clearly why you think this is an important invention, just as professor has asked in the question, right? So when you give your opinion, you may refer to one of the other student posts to agree or disagree also. But make sure you will use your own words and phrases. Don't just copy what other students have written, right? So whenever you're writing, introduce the invention first, explain clearly why you think it is important, use your own words, right? Next thing is, now before the test, you should understand that what your raters are looking for and how your question will be scored here. Now, in the writing section of TOEFL, each response will be given an overall score from 0 to 5. So the rating will be from 0 to 5. And for question 2, that means this question, writing for an academic discussion task, the raters are looking for three main things. There are the three main parameters the raters are looking for. First is relevant and clearly developed ideas. Second is variety in the use of language. And the third one is correct use of language. So these are the three things the raters are looking for. Very first is what is relevant and clearly developed ideas. The raters are looking for ideas that you contribute to the discussion. Are they well supported by reasons or examples? And if you just use a lot of words and sentences, but that are not well connected, that do not support each other, or that don't add up to a clear point of view, or if you have developed any empty ideas, you will receive a low score. So your ideas need to be relevant and they need to be clearly developed as well. Second is variety in the use of language. Now raters, they are looking for evidence that you can use variety of structure and vocabulary. The variety should be natural, it should support your ideas, and if you try to use varied structures of vocabulary without a good reason, it will not help you to get a high score, right? Third one, Third one is the correct use of language. Now, it is important that you use your language is strong and consistent also. Your word choices are correct and appropriate. Your spelling, punctuation, capitalization has to be correct. Your writing doesn't have to be absolutely perfect to get a top score, but few small mistakes you may leave behind and have to be typical of competent writers writing under the time conditions, right? Next thing we will be looking at is that don't try to create an answer by memorizing sentences or paragraphs on various topics before the test and then trying to relate them to the topic you receive, because the content won't be appropriate and you will just receive a low score. So don't memorize your sentences. Now you can see exactly how your responses are scored even by looking at the writing for an academic discussion rubrics or the scoring guide on the TOEFL website, right? So these are the rubrics for writing for an academic discussion. That means your question number 2 for the writing part. Now let's look at the sample response so that you have an idea of what good a response looks like and what our raters look when they score, right? So this student wrote a response on the topic about inventions that we discussed a minute ago, right? So here, as I told you, the blank space, you need to type it here and it should be at least 100 words. So this was the response, right? And it received a score of 5 on a 5-point scale because the response was relevant and it was clearly expressed with good elaboration also. Now read the response. For me, the invention of an airplane by Brazilian inventor Santos Dumont is a good example of an important invention from the last 2 centuries. It made possible to connect different places, even if they are thousands of miles away, one from another. People can be in any place of the world within 24 hours or less from the time they get inside an airplane. This is fantastic. Also, the world trade become more efficient. You can eat fresh lobsters from northern eastern Brazil even if you are in Dubai. I think that is really interesting. Since the ancient Greece, the man wanted to fly like the birds, and Mr. Dormant made it possible. And I am particularly proud of him because he was a Brazilian citizen, just like me. So that's my opinion. I could show you some of my admiration for this great man and his beautiful invention, right? So this answer received a 5 score. The answer, this response is relevant, and he expressed it clearly, and the elaboration was also good. Though, in spite of few errors, he received 5 on a 5-point scale, right? So, because Santos was a major figure in the early history of flight and developed the first commercial viable plane, there are some errors also, right? See this errors. Brazilian, B was not capital here, right? Some of the prepositions in the articles, any place of the world, right? So again, there are also some errors. Important invention, important, an important invention. So there are errors in prepositions and even the articles also. But these kinds of error are expected from a competent writer because you have certain time conditions. So these errors can be leave behind and you can score 5 out of 5, right? If you are writing a response which is well developed and well organized, right? Now let's talk about some of the skill building tips for your writing part. Very first tip for improving your writing skill is read opinion articles and write why you agree or disagree. Second is elaborate on your ideas. Think of different reasons for your opinion. Provide supporting arguments and examples. Learn how to find and correct grammar mistakes. So, some tips: find articles in newspapers or websites that express the opinion, read them, write about why you agree or disagree. Second is elaborate on ideas as much as you can. Practice by thinking about two different ideas, why you feel a certain way about a topic. Then provide plenty of supporting arguments and explain examples for each reason. Third is when you practice, you may find out that you are making same kind of grammar mistakes over and over. Learn how to correct them. Then when you write, leave some time at the end to go back and revise to make those corrections. So in this way, you can improve your writing skills and you can get ready for an academic discussion task. So go to the YouTube, go to the babycode application, practice for academic writing discussion part. Now you got an idea how you're supposed to attempt this type of question. It's an online academic discussion. The professor has already posted about a topic. The students has already made a post and now it's your turn to make a post about it. Okay, so keep practicing, keep learning, and watch your journey soar. Type your comments in the comment section. Any doubts, any queries, I'm going to come up and solve all those for you. Stay tuned for our next session and do practice for the academic writing discussion. Bye bye. Thank you so much for watching a live session. Stay tuned. Take care.